The smell of damp earth always takes me back to that stadium. It's a scent I can't forget, like wet grass after a storm mixed with the faint metallic tang of rusted gates. Back then, we didn't mind its desolation. It was a place where we could escape everything. Our chores, our parents, the monotony of the neighborhood. The four of us, kids with scuffed sneakers and baseball gloves, too big for our hands, claimed the dusty diamond as our kingdom. It wasn't hard to sneak in. The chain link fence had been bent open at the corner, just enough for us to shimmy through, one by one. The stadium itself was massive, yet silent, as though it had been left behind by time. Weeds poked through cracks in the concrete. Graffiti decorated the walls, and the sun's rays cast long, eerie shadows across the field. But to us, it wasn't creepy. It was freedom. Every afternoon after school, we'd meet at the edge of the fence. Timmy always brought the baseball. Gina had the bat. Marcus and I fought over who got to pitch first. We played until sunset, the golden light making us feel invincible. There was something magical about the way the ball sounded against the bat, cutting through the stillness. That day was no different, or so we thought. The game stretched on longer than usual. The sun dipped below the horizon, and dusk enveloped the stadium in its blue-gray haze. The streetlights outside flickered on, barely penetrating the growing darkness. When Gina struck out for what must have been the 100th time, we laughed so hard we didn't notice how late it had gotten. It wasn't until Marcus glanced at his watch and muttered, "We should go," that the reality hit us. Night had fallen. The laughter stopped as we gathered our things. Timmy led the way to the fence, but when he pushed against it, the gate didn't budge. "It's locked," he said, his voice unnervingly calm. I joined him, pulling and tugging, but the lock held firm. "No way," I whispered, my chest tightening. Panic blossomed in the pit of my stomach as the others crowded around, whispering theories and reassurances. Someone must have locked it while we were playing. Timmy suggested we look for another exit. Gina hesitated, glancing back at the field with an expression that mirrored my own unease. What had seemed like freedom now felt like a trap. And then, just as we turned to leave, we saw it. The faint beam of a flashlight bobbing in the distance, moving steadily toward us. We froze, our voices caught in our throats as the flashlight beam swayed rhythmically in the distance. My mind raced to find a logical explanation. Maybe it was a security guard, someone making the rounds, completely unaware of us. But why would they lock the gate without checking? The thought didn't sit right. The flashlight stopped moving, its beam now fixed on something. Us. "Run," Timmy whispered, his voice barely audible. We scattered like startled birds, our sneakers squeaking against the concrete. Gina clutched her bat so tightly that her knuckles turned white. My breath felt loud in the empty stadium as we darted deeper into the maze of corridors beneath the stands, hoping to find another way out. The faint glow of the flashlight followed us, the echoing shuffle of footsteps growing louder. We turned a corner, and Timmy spotted another gate. It looked rusted and overgrown with weeds, but it was a chance. He pushed against it with all his weight, but it wouldn't budge. "Help me," he hissed, and we threw ourselves against the stubborn metal. The gate groaned but held firm. I could feel the sweat trickling down my back as I glanced over my shoulder. The beam of light grew closer, illuminating the narrow corridor in fragments. The shadows seemed to move on their own, stretching and distorting, like something alive. "It's not opening." Marcus's voice cracked as he kicked at the gate in frustration. We needed another plan. "Through there." Gina pointed toward a maintenance tunnel, barely wide enough for us to squeeze through. Without hesitation, we plunged into the darkness, the walls pressing against our shoulders. It reeked of mildew and something acrid I couldn't place. I tried not to think about what might be crawling along the unseen floor as we shuffled forward. Behind us, the footsteps quickened. The flashlight's glow spilled into the tunnel's entrance, casting long fingers of light that seemed to reach for us. I held my breath, my heart thundering in my ears. We reached the end of the tunnel, emerging into what seemed to be a storage area. Piles of old equipment and boxes loomed like forgotten relics. Over there, Timmy pointed to another door, its handle just visible in the dim light. We bolted for it, but as Marcus reached out to grab it, the door slammed shut with a force that made us all jump. We stared at it, paralyzed, as the sound of footsteps entered the storage area. The flashlight beam stopped at the entrance, bathing us in cold light. Whoever held it remained in shadow, but we could feel their presence, oppressive and unrelenting. The air seemed to grow colder, the weight of the unknown pressing down on us. For what felt like an eternity, none of us moved. The flashlight's beam was blinding, cutting through the dimness of the storage room. The figure at the entrance remained still, their silhouette hidden behind the glare. My chest tightened as an overwhelming sense of dread washed over me. This wasn't just someone looking for trespassers. Whoever they were, they wanted us to feel trapped. Timmy broke the spell, whispering, "Over here," and motioning toward a stack of crates. We ducked behind them, trying to stifle our frantic breaths. The crunch of footsteps echoed in the room as the figure stepped inside. Slow and deliberate, each step sent a jolt of terror through me. My mind raced, replaying every moment of that evening. Had we missed something? A warning sign? And more importantly, why would someone lock us in here? The sound of a metal object scraping across the floor made my skin crawl. Gina gripped the bat tightly, her hands trembling. I wanted to tell her to stay still, but the words wouldn't come out. The flashlight beam swung over the crates, passing inches above us. My heart pounded as I pressed myself against the cold, damp floor, praying we wouldn't be seen. Then, suddenly, the sound stopped. Silence hung in the air, thick and suffocating. I dared to glance over the edge of the crate, but the figure was gone. Or so I thought. A shadow loomed behind us, and I realized with a sickening jolt that they had circled around. "Go!" Timmy shouted, springing to his feet. We bolted for the door on the far side of the room, not stopping to see if the figure was chasing us. Gina swung the bat wildly as we reached the door, its rusted hinges creaking as Timmy shoved it open. We stumbled into the night air, our legs pumping as we sprinted toward the perimeter fence. The flashlight's glow chased after us, bobbing violently as the figure gave pursuit. When we reached the fence, Marcus spotted a gap we hadn't noticed earlier, hidden behind a thicket of weeds. Without hesitation, we squeezed through, one by one, scratching our arms and legs in the process. The flashlight beam stopped short on the other side, and for the first time, I caught a glimpse of the figure, a faceless silhouette, shrouded in darkness. They stood there, motionless, as we disappeared into the night. We didn't stop running until we reached Timmy's house. No one said a word. The silence between us was heavy, loaded with unspoken fear and relief. That night, lying awake in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had narrowly escaped something far worse than we could comprehend. We never returned to that stadium, and we never told our parents what happened. Even now, as I recount this, I find myself glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see a flashlight beam cutting through the darkness.